Today, I'm going to share with you what makes a good painting and what doesn't. There's something about finishing a painting that can be kind of difficult. Some people call it that last 10%, or when is a painting done? Most paintings don't fail at the beginning. They fall apart in the last 10%. It's hard to know what moves to do. And this is where a lot of artists accidentally ruin something that was working. Now, this is just so wide open and could be very subjective, but there are good tenets of design. And when I'm making a piece of artwork, I get to decide all of these things for my own painting. So I thought I would show you a couple of examples where I felt like something was not going quite right, and then the final painting so that you could see the before and the after. I personally feel when a painting is done that something clicks in position and it's just finished. Now, the next day I might decide, oh, I think I made a mistake, I better fix that again. But mostly my instinct is true, and I've learned to listen to that so that I don't overwork a painting. Okay, let's define what the last 10% is. It's not detail and not more paint, it's going to be editing and clarifying. And this painting of a field and a barn is a great example of a painting that I did about 11 years ago. I was excited about the morning and the attempt of creating this artwork. And then later I thought, it's just not saying what I want it to say. And that was the first point where I really started getting comfortable with scraping things down, adding different layers, and manipulating the elements of the painting to match what was in my head and what I had seen when I was on location. And if we look at them side by side, it becomes readily apparent that I added a lot more atmosphere. I suppressed the barn and softened the horizon line. So these elements that were suppressed or diminished actually enhance the feeling of light, of iridescence, of moving back. It's about atmosphere and light. It's not really about the single elements of the barn, the grass, the hillside, and that tree. When I had finished this painting, I knew this was an important step for me as an artist because I really understood more about that process, and I was looking forward to trying that again. Now I'd like to share with you some recent paintings that were done on location at an event called Plein Easton. This was a week-long painting event, and I didn't have much time to overthink my choices, yet I knew this was really key to my process, is making sure that the painting, when it was taken away from the field, still had the right visual voice. When I take it inside, it still should have that same feeling of being on location. So that's pretty much the key for making sure a painting is working and deciding all of my choices on when to edit. Here's another example of a large painting that I did of ships on a harbor. I was pretty excited to get this painting started, and it went through several different versions and multiple visits to the harbor, plus adding and subtracting boats as I felt was needed. This painting took a long time. You could see at one point the clouds had too much emphasis, and I kept having to go back to strengthening the light. During the course of my painting on location, notably, I did not work from photos for this painting, so I had to try to capture everything from life. I did a few studies quickly in watercolor, and this version was getting closer, but it still wasn't done. I felt like the lower corners were unresolved, and there was something about the cloud that bothered me. The next step is the final one. Let's take a look. I decided to add the Navy sailboat, and that collection of boats really anchored that corner. So that I decided was working. My next move is to just suppress the sky because it was a competing element, and by making the sky less important, the sailboat and the harbor and the scattered light became really the main point of the painting. In the end, I was really happy with the quality of light that I had achieved for this painting, and it works because I softened a lot of the edges and made a warmer tone overall to the whole painting, whereas in the early stage it was a bit too focused on the horizon line, and the horizon was too dark, so the final layer of paint had a much lighter sky. There are paintings that in the field work without having to do multiple edits, and it's a one take and it's very fresh. Here you could see a marsh scene, felt like that worked, and after I framed it or took it away from the scene, it still was a really good take on the scene and it matched what was in my head. Consider yourself lucky if in the field you get a good painting, such as this one here, where I was set up to capture the glitter of the afternoon light. However, that's not normally the case. It's great if you can capture a quick take painting on location, but spending time with a painting in the mid process and not buttoning down those details too early leads to, I think, really amazing results if you let go of some of the details. I have a conversation with a friend where we compare and contrast different master art examples and also our philosophy on finishing a painting and what that means. So you might want to check that out here. Once I made the big choice to scrape down this painting, I just couldn't stop. And then I liked the texture that I got, the wispy nature of the clouds. Here you can see how the final painting turned out. I went ahead and changed the bottom half of the painting, but I did keep an echo of the original cloud in place. Here's some other examples of things that I've tried in the studio. I have taken a painting as far as I can. In this Paris example, this is my point of inspiration. I like the graphic nature of the photograph, but yet the photograph wasn't capturing fully my experience on location. And in this large painting, I decided to have soft light, a gray feeling, but I did want to capture a type of iridescence to it. And I took the painting as far as I could, but I thought it got too literal. I felt I was counting windows instead of focusing on the light. So I took my digital tablet and in Procreate, I tried a couple of different versions of where I would take the painting. Because it's a large piece of artwork, doing a digital sketch on top of my own painting lets me try out multiple layers of paint, and there's basically no money wasted. And because it's in digital form, I can add or delete things. So I tried lights, I tried shifting the sky color, simplifying, and even at one point I tried making it into a night scene. And the final version was one that was much lighter. And then I worked on the digital sketch that I had created to create the final painting. A common mistake is overworking the painting. And I find that that happens when I am mentally too invested in a singular object. Harmony was achieved in this painting by bringing all of the elements together and suppressing the background instead of the before picture, which had the mountain range as a crisper and more defined edge. So listen to your own process as you're creating and just be careful at that point of which you might not want to make any further edits. Although art and choosing what is a good painting is very difficult to describe and define, that is how we make a painting, is putting one brush mark down after the other. And so we have to make those hard decisions, and that's how art gets done. It's the artist's prerogative to put things down, take it away, put things down, take it away, cover over something or throw it out. All of this trial and error can be a good thing. I have a number of videos on my program, and you might want to check some of them out for learning and scraping down and repainting, because it can be kind of fun to see what a scrape down painting does. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today while we took a look at some of these examples. I hope you found this useful. Do like and subscribe. It helps my channel grow, and I really appreciate you being here. Until next time, happy painting.